All right, shower is completed. That's not okay.
Oh, I just saw the gnat again.
That's not okay, in my opinion. Oh! I've ordered takeout. Yes, I have. I'm using a literal butter knife right now.
Tried my first bite of food. It dribbled on me a little bit.
One day I will be a plus size influencer who has died. That is crazy.
This video is so raw, you guys. Fuck.
Damn, what a real bitch is that?
Hey there, YouTube. It's me, Hens, and I'm back here with Salty Crab. It's week 6, I think, of Amberlynn's live streams for her members, and this is a testy live stream. I've already seen some of the quotes from it, and Amberlynn is a disrespectful human being. Yeah, I mean, Salty Crab literally says it's the 6th member stream, and then addresses the inheritance money, which is ironic because as I'm speaking, as I'm recording this, Beck is on with Casey and his podcast on the channel Lukewarm Tea, and I'm going to watch that after this. So let's get into this so I can hurry up and hopefully make it to the live stream. Uh-oh, we're starting off on a wrong foot already. I heard what she's going to say, even though you guys didn't.
Zach was a dick.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Zachary Michael has always extended you the utmost grace, even when you don't deserve it. So you need to watch your mouth.
To Beck. Like a dick.
Remember what I said when I said I came into the Amberverse during the live stream era, during the breakup, and I was watching it through Zachary Michael. So you're going to tell me Zachary was unduly hard on Beck just for the heck of it? No. It was because Amberlynn was putting Beck up, as we all saw, to saying things, to lying, to defending her, all this shit. Otherwise, it was going to be a fight in private. We already know this. That's where a lot of the criticism came from.
To my channel, and welcome to Amberlynn's members only number 6 summary. Cannot believe that we have made it to number 6. It's been 6 weeks.
I'm still thinking
Amberlynn actually sticking.
I'm thinking that it's going to be 10, maybe, that she goes in full, but I don't know.
With the members only streams, she hasn't taken a single week off. They've all been at least 2 hours long. Gotta say, I'm kind of shocked by that. So this one might end up being pretty long. This was probably the juiciest stream that she has done so far. Typically, the first half an hour to 45 minutes, I will take tons of notes because that's when everything's really popping off, so to speak, as Amberlynn likes to say. But that's when all the juiciest stuff happens. And then after that, she kind of just goes to, you know, her favorite color and her favorite, you know, where she wants to go for a vacation. This one, however, it stayed juicy almost the whole time. So let's just hurry up and get into it. I know you guys are anxious to hear what happened, so ready? Let's go. Okay, so in this one, I am going to be including a couple of clips because there were, I think, 2 times, maybe 3, where I felt like you guys needed to just hear straight from Amberlynn what she was saying. So look out for those. But we began with the roll call, typical for her members only streams. She goes through and says hi to everyone. She says that she's feeling a lot better. Someone asked about the number of members she has. She says it's about the same as last week. She hasn't really gotten any new members. And right away she says there's something that she needs the viewers' advice on. And she says it's, quote, kind of hectic and kind of serious. And of course everyone wants to know immediately, well, what is it? And she drags it out. She says she wants to wait for more people to get in there. Also, trolls. Anyone who's a troll, take note, because Amberlynn said that she has now unblocked every single person that has ever been blocked since the start of her YouTube channel. So if you go in there next time she does a live stream, she says that you are unblocked. Everybody. She says that the reason why she unblocked everyone was because of whatever she's about to tell us. And she specifically calls out Karina Kaboom and she says, hello, hello, you're not blocked, to Karina. She says that she's been dissociated. She calls it disassociating.
Really?
Associating. So if I accidentally slip up and call it that, it's because I've heard her say disassociate 20 million times in this. It's clearly her new favorite word, but she says she's been dissociating a lot lately. People keep asking her, what's the announcement? And she says, quote, it's kind of hectic, but since I'm like dissociating, I feel like it's the best time to do it, unquote. And then she giggles right afterwards.
That doesn't even make any sense. This is her making a mockery of mental health. This is disgusting.
So, clearly taking this very seriously, she keeps dragging it out, giggling, milking it for all it's worth, and finally she decides to tell us what's on her mind. She says that the whole stuff with Beck has been a lot. She says that's why she's been dissociating, and she starts to tear up. She says, quote, "They have shared things that are true, that are embarrassing, that I am ashamed of, things that I want to take accountability for. And so many people are like, okay, what are you accountable for then?" Unquote. And she says, quote, "Okay, true, fair, I haven't said," unquote. Basically, she hasn't said what she's accountable for, what she's taking accountability for. And she says, quote, "And then there are things that Beck is lying about. Beck is exaggerating
Like what? She won't specify those either.
about." And people are like, okay, what is it? What is it then? Unquote. She says people bring up things like the inheritance money, and they ask her, what is your side? Quote, "But I ignore it all," unquote. And she says, quote, "I'm realizing my silence is making people just genuinely assume that Beck is telling the truth about everything."
People also assume that most of the things that Beck says are truer than what you say because you literally lie about your past partners regardless, just so you can seem better. It doesn't even matter if they did anything wrong.
"I don't know if I'm going to regret this, but I want to go live publicly, and I want people to ask me anything they want genuinely. And I want to take accountability on the things that are really true," unquote. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're hearing what she's saying about taking accountability, every single time she talks about it, she always has to add in the part about taking
What
accountability
is
for the things
true?
that are true. Like, she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't just say it once, it's every
Because when she gets into arguments, she says, "Oh, you just blame me for everything." I guarantee it.
single time. She, for whatever reason, thinks she has to keep reminding us that
I
Beck is lying,
guarantee
Beck
it.
is lying, Beck is lying. She says, quote, "As much as it's gonna suck for me and be really, really embarrassing and horrific, I want to," unquote. She says that she also wants to clarify things, and she wants to be like, quote, "Beck said this, and it's not true and not fair," unquote. She says it won't be a
Then make a reaction video. Don't cry about it. Be about it. Talk about it and walk it.
place for her to bash Beck or spill out all of their dirty laundry because, quote, "I am not all bad and Beck is not all good. But that's the way that people are viewing the whole situation," unquote. She says she's confused because her silence is not helpful and it's not doing anything for her. So this whole time she's kind of been ignoring the chat, just trying to get out whatever she wants to say. So she goes to read the chat. I think she needed some validation for what she was saying. The chat is usually pretty good about patting her on the back and being like, "Oh, we understand, Amber." So I think that's why she went to go read it. And for the most part, people in the chat like the idea of her doing the open live stream, and they're telling her that she should do it. And there are a few, though, that are telling her it's not a good idea. She says that she feels like doing the live stream, would get a big weight off of her. And she wants the people in the chat to
Not as much as it's gonna show that's still on your body.
step outside of themselves and don't think, "Ooh, this will be good tea or good drama." She wants true advice on what is the right thing to do. And she talks about Beck. She says it's not just one video that they've made. They're talking about her hygiene and how she's made people's furniture smell. She calls it shit talking, and her feelings are genuinely hurt, she says. She now feels like it's her turn to share her side. She says, "We're talking about things that were never shared on YouTube, and isn't it only fair and only right that she gets a voice in it?" Someone in the chat says she always ignores the big questions asked whenever she's doing a public live stream, and she says, well, this will be a time for her to answer those. She says her silence is only hurting her, and it was to keep the peace, but, quote, "Who
And when it doesn't happen, when she doesn't answer any of those questions, it'll be, "Ugh, I need to protect my peace. My peace."
actually gets the peace? It ain't me," unquote. And she says she's, quote, "eaten up on the inside," unquote. So someone in the chat says she should address it so that she can put it behind her. And she starts crying again, and she says, quote, "That sounds so fucking good because it feels so heavy," unquote.
If you're 34 and your reaction to any criticism is to cry to try to make it go away, that's you being a fragile person. That's you not having any fortitude of person, and you will fall apart at anything not going your way. Especially Amber, because she is so used to having everything handed to her on a platter and having somebody cut up whatever's on the platter for her. Because she has not worked a real job where she actually made an amount where she supported herself. She never did. She has never worked where she made a living. Bear in mind, she worked at multiple jobs, according to her. She never earned a salary that was enough that she could live off of.
Quote. She says she can't move forward if all of this is sitting on her chest. And she says she has talked to friends and family in real life to get their opinion on it before she came to her members to ask.
I doubt
okay,
it.
so here's where things started to get a little spicy. She starts to talk about how people used to hate Beck. She says now they believe everything that Beck says when they used to hate Beck. And she actually was going to do a reaction video, reacting to the time that Zachary Michael reacted to her, reacting to them, reacting to her, walking to the tree. And she started doing the reaction and realized that, quote, Zach was a dick.
Zach was a dick to Beck. Like,
The look on her face when she thinks she caught Zach in something.
A dick.
Zach was a
Look at the expression on her face.
dick
She's taking enjoyment from watching him say things about Beck.
to Beck.
Look at that.
Like a dick.
And she actually says, quote, Zach was abusive to Beck. Like, are you kidding? Unquote. She says that Zach was straight up rude to Beck, and it's hecticana that they said they don't
Well, you know what's funny is that you don't get to be offended for Beck. Beck has a platform. If they feel offended by Zach, they might do a reaction to Zach and say that they're offended. Otherwise, it's not your place. You need to shut your mouth and you need to crawl back into whatever little hole you came out of.
watch her member streams, but they know exactly everything that goes down in them. And according to her, that makes Zach weird. I feel like every week a different reaction channel gets their turn to be talked about. She's talked about Jordy, the ankle, me, now it's Zach. So it's at this point that she starts trying to completely deflect the blame from herself onto Zachary Michael. And she says, quote, Zach, how about you apologize to Beck for what you did with the GoFundMe?
What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Amber, where did the money go that you guys collected for Beck's mom? Where did it go?
Me. How about every single reaction channel do that? How about you do that? Unquote. And then she goes, sorry, I just had a moment. So the chat is pushing back on that. And they're telling
Good.
her she shouldn't be
Good.
using the word abusive. Zachary was not abusive to Beck. And they were telling her that she was actually the abusive one. And she
Thank
pretty
you.
much ignores all
Thank you
that.
so much.
And she talks about how she showed her mom the things that Beck was saying. And her mom's jaw was on the floor, particularly the comment that Beck said she would purposely make her mom cry. And her mom, I guess, asked, well, what do you think Beck's motive would be for saying that? And she said she
No, that means it was true. What do you think Beck's motive would be for saying that? That's not what her mom's reaction would be if it was false. Her mom would have been upset that Beck was mischaracterizing it. Be so fucking for real.
can only think of one thing that could be Beck's motive in all of this, but she doesn't want to voice it out loud because she doesn't want to be, quote, that person. Like I said, she's purposely not reading the chat. She's not addressing any of the comments, calling her abusive. She says she has to do what's best for her. And the sad thing is, she's been doing what's best for Beck this whole time. Beck said to stop talking about them, and she did that to protect their peace. While
Oh
inside,
my
she's
God.
been feeling literally, that's how she said it too, literally tormented. She says that she wants to do this open live because if she just does a Q&A, she can ignore certain questions that make her feel uncomfortable, which, okay, that's, to me, that's confirmation that she does do that. But if she does it in a live stream, she says she can't ignore those questions. And she thinks it's only fair that if they get to share what happened, quote, off a camera, then she should be able to share as well. Now, I'm going to be honest here. She did admit to a lot of things in this live stream. Now, I think
Tisk,
she had
tisk.
motive behind it, but I will give her credit. She did admit to some things. So she admitted that she was, quote, extremely toxic, and she wants to take accountability for the things that made her toxic.
No.
And she wants to
Using the term toxic is a loaded term on purpose because she wants people to attach whatever their beliefs about it are onto the situation. That's the thing. She's going to go for mutually toxic because that's how she's trying to deflect the attention from her is that, well, there's all these other people have culpability, they're adults too, look at Zachary Michael. It's all the same tactic. It's just spread out across the different topics that she wants to cover.
to do that in the open live stream. And she claims that in this live stream, not one time is she going to say that what she did was because of BPD or depression.
You better not say, oh, well, there was some on both sides, or, oh, well, but what about this? No, because that's what she always does. All four of these things, these statements that she makes are repeated phrases.
Or because she was lonely. She says that she will say, quote, yeah, I did do that. And here's how I know that it was wrong and that it was wrong that I did that and what I could have done differently, end quote. So someone in the chat says, your side was shared during your time on YouTube. And she
Yep.
laughs and she says, ooh, no, not at all. She says, that was a very
Nobody else controlled your filming. Beck already said when you were in the middle of arguments or you made a statement that was outrageous, you would just pick up your phone and say, oh, well, I'm about to get on the phone, or, oh, I'm about to start filming. Yeah, sounds familiar to me, at least. That kind of controlling the context of when you're allowed to talk to them.
edited version of the both of them. She does say that she wants to validate Beck in this live stream, in the open live stream, and where she did wrong 100,000,000,000%. Someone asks, well, why did Beck propose to you if you were acting so crazy? And Amber says she heard someone say because Beck felt forced to, but she never once asked them to propose, ever, ever.
Then how did they get the rings from you that you purchased?
Someone in the chat was like, well, you did buy the rings, but she ignored that. But
Of
she says
course.
that she can
Of
sympathize
course.
with Beck because she knows when people are in toxic relationships, it's hard to get out. And then she quickly follows that up by saying, I relate to that actually. Because it can't just be about Beck. We have to feel sorry
Did
for
I call
Amberlynn
it
in here
or
too.
what?
Okay, so Amber drops a little nugget onto us. She says she and Beck were secretly friends for a while after they broke up. And Beck told her not to tell anyone that they were friends or that they hang out. She says that she, Jade, Eric, Ricky, and Beck would all hang out together, and that went on for easily over a year. She said,
Beck has already addressed that and said that they wanted to stop hanging out, but they wanted to remain cordial because they still had their long-term friends, Eric and Ricky, who are pieces of shit since they still talk to you, let alone hung out with you. Excuse you. Excuse the fuck out of you for bringing that up because it's not for you.
says the reason that Beck wanted to keep it a secret is because they didn't want to get backlash from the community. She then goes on to admit something else. She says she, quote, did do mentally and emotionally abusive things, but she doesn't want to go into detail right now.
Oh, you don't want to elaborate? You don't want to express your radical truth? Really, Amber? Because you giving us this little partial bit, this doesn't satisfy the requirement. It means that we were already right. You're just confirming it.
Because she wants to have that public live stream where she can admit to the wrong that she did. She says, quote, this isn't about my BPD. It's just about the fact that I did what I did and that I regret it and that I'm sorry, unquote. She says she wishes she could talk to Beck and do all this privately.
No.
And if they want, they can have their partner there and anyone else that they need
Why
to
does
feel
it
safe
matter?
and supported.
The partner
and
doesn't
comfort
know
them.
if what
She starts crying.
The partner doesn't know if what you're saying is true or not. Why the fuck would that matter? Just like you would want Emily to be there, because I need my support.
Again, and she says, quote,
She's
I
my home.
genuinely just want them to know that from the bottom of my heart that I'm sorry, unquote. Now, all I have to say about all of these apologies and taking accountability, I think it's very interesting the timing on these things. First of all, like I mentioned in my Salty Sunday video, Cinnamon Toast Ken did a video about Amberlynn's apology, and a lot of people watched that video, so there were a lot of eyes on that situation. And also, all of a sudden now, she's sorry when she hears that her exes are starting to do collabs together, which, by the way, if you didn't know, there is going to be a podcast episode tonight on Casey and Nerfy and Jade, but not that Jade's channel called Lukewarm Tea. I will have a link for it below in the description, and they're going to have special guest Beck on. So that is tonight. So to me, it is no coincidence that Amberlynn decided to do all of these apologies last night. So anyway, Amberlynn continues that, and she says, quote, it's hard to take accountability for the things I don't want to talk about publicly, but the things that I'd totally be willing to talk about privately, 100,000,000%.
Bullshit. 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 It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She can say, oh, well, I would say it in private. But she knows that the situation is never going to happen. So she can say, well, I would do that because she knows it's never going to happen. That's the whole thing. It's manipulation.
Quote. She says, that's why everything I have said has been very vague. Going back to the proposal, she says that she never would have gone through with the marriage because neither of them were happy and they were both just
Amberlynn is a go along to get along type of gal.
Stuck in the relationship. And she says that she used to, in relationships, she used to be very, quote, I want to hurt you as much as you're hurting me, unquote. but she hasn't been like that in years. Okay, sure. Then she talks about how much she's changed because of therapy and the workbooks that she's been doing, which I believe have only been like a month of therapy, but she's a changed woman, guys. She keeps repeating how she can take accountability for what she did, but also call out the things she claims Beck is lying about. And
Like?
she says that the inheritance money story is what triggered all of this. So someone says, how about when you do the open live stream, maybe have your mom there to kind of make her feel more comfortable? And she likes that idea. And
I don't like that idea because Mama Lynn doesn't know what she's lying about either. So Mama Lynn will back up Amber because she feels bad for her.
she also
And
says
that's
when
why
she does
Amber's
this live
gonna
stream
do
that
it.
there will be no questions regarding Beck that she will not answer. Someone says they feel like she's being more genuine in this live stream this week, and she starts crying, and she says it's because she's dissociating and she doesn't have the ability to be anything other than herself. She says
That
that the
doesn't even make
dissociating
sense.
began 3 or 4
Like what? What? You wouldn't be you would not be fully conscious speaking about dissociating. You wouldn't be conscious about what's happening to you. You would be out of your regular self, not reflecting on your current behaviors. Like, what the hell? And you wouldn't be filming it for money. What the fuck?
days ago, and she feels like she's just watching herself live this experience. She goes back to talking about Beck, and she admits that she shouldn't have been controlling Beck's time with their friends or family, no
I'm beginning to think that Amberlynn is a narcissist.
matter what her mental health was. And she says she's not like that anymore, which makes her feel relieved, but still ashamed. Someone says, if you could say one thing to Beck, what would it be? And she says, quote, I'm sorry for hurting you in the ways that I did, unquote. Which to me was her still trying to get that dig in. She couldn't just say, I'm sorry for hurting you. She had to clarify, it was
For what
only
you
in the
feel
ways
like.
that I am going to admit that I did. She says she's not doing this to change people's minds because that's not going to happen, but she has to get out what is real and be accountable for it. Someone asked if she knew about the ALR subreddits getting banned, and she says, well, it's usually because, quote, harassment to that level is not allowed, unquote. Someone in chat says, well, Beck is just posting about their experience. And she says, they're posting about an experience that happened off camera, and I've never done that. She says, quote,
That's not true. She's regularly talked about people who were not on camera. Pappy had a heart attack. Remember that, Amber? Remember that? That's you not leaving the stuff off camera. That's you bringing it on camera for money. For money. That's because you're a piece of shit. And your boundaries are the only ones that matter.
showed an edited, filtered through version of a relationship, unquote. Which I would just like to remind Amberlynn of this whenever we speculate on her relationships and what's going on behind the scenes, and she gets mad at us. She's admitting right here that she shows edited and filtered through versions of her relationships. So then she says about Beck, they're sharing things and lying about things that was off camera.
Oh.
That's why I feel like I should be allowed to speak on those things that would have never seen the light of day, unquote. And then she says, quote,
So it's because you wanted to keep them secret that you actively abused your ex. You wanted to keep that secret. And because they're letting it out in the day, you think that you're the victim. Really? Really? No wonder. No wonder Crystal doesn't want to talk to you anymore.
He decided to start popping off at the seams out of nowhere. I instantly went to live stream, and I was horrific. So she admits she was horrific in those live streams. Like I said, she admits to a lot in this members only stream, and I want to take her at her word and appreciate it, but the timing is very sus, and the fact that she's doing this on a member stream also makes me question it.
Yep.
So yeah, she brought up the Destiny situation and how she was horrific.
Because she knew that the primary way that most people would hear about all this would be through reaction channels like Karina and Salty.
But she says she feels like a different person now because this is a similar situation that's happening, and she's, quote, handling it so much better, unquote. She says that when she does the open live stream, she'll probably be crying a lot, but since she'll be in a dissociative state, she'll be able to cope a lot easier.
Oh, predictive dissociation. How wonderful.
So
wonderful.
Then someone brings up the collabs with the exes, and she says she understands the Beck and Destiny one because they were all friends at one point, and Destiny is ugh, and she makes this face. But she says the Casey thing leaves her jaw on the floor because Beck and Destiny both knew the truth. It's literally something she cried about and opened up to them about.
Rain and pedal eavesdrop. I used the wrong word.
She then tells us that her BPD is being affected by everything going on. Someone says they don't think that the open live stream will do any good. And she says, quote, I hear what you're saying, but what about the things that aren't true, like the inheritance money? So last week, if you'll remember, when she was asked about the inheritance money, she just would say, we have two different points of view. This week, she's saying it is not true. That
Right?
story is not true.
Oh,
She
well,
says that
I just have a different perspective on if I took their money. It was, sure, it was from a pension, and sure, it came from their family, but that doesn't mean it wasn't mine.
the inheritance thing has sent so much hate to her Instagram inbox, and it's been really overwhelming and so sad, but it's
Aw.
not true. So then someone in the chat asks her about receipts for that being not true, and Amberlynn opens up and she just starts spilling her guts. She says that she and Beck had a joint bank account with separate debit cards. Beck got to spend money when they wanted and how often they
Bitch.
wanted. And quote, we both love to buy things. So basically, in a roundabout way,
I'm not going to let this go because Amberlynn, within a month, had Destiny put her on her accounts. Destiny was 19 and wouldn't have known better. Amberlynn knew better.
saying that she didn't steal that money. Beck had access to it whenever they wanted. And basically, she's trying to say that
If you could have wiped it out in one purchase, because remember, Amberlynn would spend thousands of dollars going to this grocery store, to Walmart. She would spend thousands of dollars.
they spent it on shopping sprees and things like that.
They
Amberlynn
did.
then goes on to tell the story of the $6,000 mattress. And she says it's all Beck's fault. Well, you know what? I'll just let her tell you the rest of the story.
When we first moved into that apartment when my mom was visiting me, we went to this
Nah, she's lying. Watch. Watch her
when we
look
first
around.
moved into that apartment when my mom was visiting
She has to think about it.
me, we went to this mattress store and Beck wanted this $6,000 bed.
Sure, Jan. Amber, unless that mattress moved and was like a Sealy Posturepedic or something, I doubt it. I doubt it. I really doubt it. Especially since Beck is not the one who's a label whore. You are.
And I didn't. I didn't
Sure.
want it, but
Sure.
they did. So
They forced me. They forced me to buy a better bed for myself.
I bought the bed in full-fledged cash right then and
It's almost like she's saying Beck owed her that money. That exact same figure. Huh.
there because Beck wanted it. $6,000.
So was it a bed, Amber, or was it a mattress? Because if it was a whole bedroom set with a mattress, yeah, it might cost $6,000. If it's just a fucking bed, or if it's just a mattress, it better be the best fucking thing in the world. But that's the thing. She thinks everybody's stupid and she uses intentionally vague language.
And Amberlynn now is claiming that when they moved into their new apartment after leaving the one they shared with Eric and Ricky, she said that she kept suggesting maybe Beck should get a job because she said they were bored. But every time she brought it up, Beck would say the same thing about how they didn't want to flip burgers the rest of their life. And she says, so then Beck finally decided, her words, finally decided to try doing Uber Eats delivery, but they only delivered twice. And she says that Amberlynn says that it bothers her that Beck is claiming that she told Beck to never get a job. Amber says, quote, the inheritance money was literally transferred into our joint account where Beck had the freedom to buy and spend whatever they wanted, unquote.
Amberlynn, over the course of her relationships, is the one who has always suggested that they get a joint account. Let that sink in.
And I just want to step in and put my 2 cents in and say, well, maybe Beck didn't want to spend that money right in that moment. Maybe they wanted to hang on to it. But did you give it to them when they moved out? No, you did not. You kept that money and only gave them $100. But anyway, let's continue. So someone goes back to talking about the bed and they said, well, you guys shared the bed. And Amber says she never laid on it, not one time, because it was too tall for her. She says that they ended up selling the bed because Beck never slept on it either. And they sold it to someone on Facebook Marketplace for $1,000. And she kind of makes a point to be like, I lost out on $5,000. So we stay on the topic of money. And Amber talks about how she would help Beck's family out with money. And they would use it for things like vet bills. And one time she paid for a cabin in Gatlinburg.
Something that Amberlynn thinks is unnecessary.
That was a family trip to celebrate Beck's mom, which the fact that Amber's now holding that over Beck's
Right?
head is pretty
Right?
disgusting in my
A
opinion.
little sick.
She says she's bothered by the fact that she's being called financially abusive when all she ever did was try to help. Then she throws Destiny under the bus. She says there came a time when she had to cut off Destiny because she was helping her pay for her rent, pay for food.
Huh. It almost sounds like a repeat of what Beck told us about what you did to them, about how you were like, oh, no, I need that debit card back. So that also tells us, that the 2 debit cards, that's either not true or which you could have canceled Beck's card anyways. Like, you didn't have to take it back. You both or Beck could have gone to the bank and canceled the card. Or you could probably even do it online because you can manage cards online. But you are a lazy ass, Amber. And I don't believe you that there were 2 cards.
Buying things for Destiny's niece and nephew, and eventually she said
But yeah, she required that Beck give back the card so she could give it to wifey. AKA, there's 1 card.
she realized eventually she had to stop saying
And it
yes
has Amberlynn's name on it.
every time because people began to expect it and it got messy and weird. And she claims that that is when she lost Destiny's friendship. Now, I hope none of you got too excited about that open public live stream Amberlynn was going to do. Because now she says she's rethinking the whole thing and possibly not going to do
Shocking.
it because of how just talking about it in this member stream is making her
Triggering
feel. She
me.
starts having what she calls, quote, adrenaline tremors, and she decides that it's time for intermission and we get the ceiling. She comes back.
I said it before. Amberlynn needs to go on Anna from Glitter and Lasers podcast because it's about medical mysteries and marvels. And honestly, Amberlynn fits the bill.
Back after 6 minutes, and she says that she realized she was having a mini anxiety attack and wants to talk about just random stuff for the rest of the live. And that's basically what they do. So they talk about baby names, they talk about perfume, they start talking about phone games, and someone asks Amber how much she spends on those. And she says that there's one game, it's the Dice Dreams game, the one that she's been promoting on her community tab. And she says that sometimes she will spend $250 right then and there. And it actually just happened recently.
What the
she
fuck?
Says she's still getting the factor meals. They start talking about semaglutide in the chat. She says she's heard a lot of bad things about it recently and feels like maybe it's a good thing that she's not on it anymore. And then right before the end of the stream, someone brings up Damon White. And Amber says that was her friend's account, and Amber asked to borrow it. And she went on the account and would go on the forums and Facebook pages.
Amberlynn, the person who's never had a black friend. Oh, my gay black friend. He let me use his account. Really, Amber?
And just stick up for herself. But she says she's never, ever, ever made a fake account. Then she tells us she's not going to add any clips from this live stream to her vlog like she usually does because she doesn't want to go back and watch any of it to get the clips. And that's basically where she ends it. Like I said, this stream felt like it had the most tea in it compared to the other streams, a lot less fluff talk. I don't think she's going to do that open live stream. I think in the moment she was feeling a certain type of way. She got out whatever she wanted to say and now is probably gonna feel like there's no need to do it anymore. I think she should do it. I wish she would do it, especially now that everyone's unblocked, but I just feel like she's gonna get too overwhelmed by that idea and just chicken out. I think it's pretty shitty of her to call Beck a liar and,
Provide no
heard
evidence.
just in that inheritance money story how she's trying to twist it and say, well, it got deposited to her joint account. They had access to it whenever they wanted. But I'm sure if Beck would have said, hey, I want to get that money out and I want to just keep it as cash, I'm sure Amberlynn would have had a huge problem with that.
Yep. Given what Beck said about Amberlynn thinking anytime they even had change, they were saving up to leave me. Really, Amber? Because I believe that. Because that's one of the things that abusive men do too. The women, mostly, who they date or marry, cannot have separate funds. Even if it's for groceries, even if it's for managing groceries, a lot of times, if they find out that there is a separate fund, it's an issue. It's, oh, why are you doing that? Is my money not good enough? Oh, then I'm going to take that money from you and put it with the rest of the money, quote unquote. But it's like never about you having separate money. It's about that insecurity that drives at them. And Amberlynn is an insecure person in every way. That's why she's the size she is, and she claims to be proud of herself, and yet she can't leave her house. And it's not even due to her mobility. Let's call it there, because I'm mad. Leave a shrimp, crab, or a lobster in the comments, because Amberlynn owes money, and I'm glad that Salty Crab is documenting the shady shit behind her paywall. Talk to you later.